Welcome back to Sports Junkies. I'm Turley.
I'm Kyle Robinson.
And we're going to jump into Trey Westerberger and his most anticipated non-BCS matchups this year.
It's Trey for Sports Junkies. Well, it starts today, the first 3 of 35 bowl games on this Saturday, December 18th. A quick glance at some of the most interesting non-BCS matchups. I think it all starts in the Las Vegas Bowl on the 22nd with Boise State and Utah. Boise on their way to the Mountain West Conference, Utah on their way to the Pac-10. This is a statement game for the Utes going into that Pac-10 schedule next year if they were to upset the Broncos in Kellen Moore after being exposed a couple times late in the year after being ranked so highly against teams like TCU and Notre Dame. Boise, it'll be business as usual for them. They'll be just looking to be their normal dominant self. I like Boise big in this one. A real fun one in the Independence Bowl, Georgia Tech and Air Force. These are the two top rushing teams in the country. They run that triple option. Both teams average throwing the ball only about a dozen times a game. So you won't see the ball in the air too often, but expect a lot of big runs, a lot of big plays on the ground. In the end, I think the Falcons make more of those, and they win it late for Coach Troy Calhoun. That game coming up on Tuesday, the 28th in Shreveport. That whole day filled with great games. You got the Champ Sports Bowl, NC State, West Virginia, two real good quarterbacks going at it. And that one, I think Russell Wilson will be the better of the two. The Wolfpack, I think, will win that game. Then in the Inside Bowl, the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes out in Tempe. Missouri fans still probably a little upset they were left out of the Cotton Bowl. They're a BCS caliber team. They get shafted in these bowls a lot. And they're going up against an Iowa team that had a very disappointing end of the season. They're now facing a scandal. This game is very important for that program and Kirk Ferentz, but I think Blaine Gabbert in the end and the Tiger offense will give Iowa's defense plenty of trouble. I like Missouri in that game. Next time, I'll break down all the games on and around New Year's Day, including Bama, Michigan State, Michigan, Mississippi State, Florida State, South Carolina, and then the latest non-BCS bowl on the 7th of January, the last non-BCS bowl, I should say, the Cotton Bowl Classic between Texas A&M and LSU. And I'll start looking at the BCS, the Rose Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl, both on the 1st. Lots to look forward to. This has been a look at your college sports. I'm Trey for Sports Junkies.
That's Trey Westerberger with his most anticipated non-BCS matchups this year. Now it's hockey time. We do not have Corey this week, but he will have a written thing on our website.
And on Facebook. For anyone who's listening right now wants to check out the website while you're listening to this show, it's xrl.us/metal, JAKET. It's actually a website devoted to both our show and a side production company we're doing. It's xrl.us/METALJAKET. Okay, buddy?
The Blues lost to Detroit this week. It's okay. The Blues made up for it 2 nights ago as they beat LA 6-4 in a high-scoring matchup. Tonight, the Blues will face San Jose as they come to St. Louis. If the Blues win this game, they are starting to turn it around slowly but surely. Even with an injured roster, the Blues will have won 4 out of their last 6 matchups. So, it's a turnaround. I mean, they did have a streak where they won 7 games in a row early in the season. Hopefully, the Blues can get healthy and make a run for the division title and possibly make the playoffs. I would enjoy that so much. Last night's games, Florida beat Buffalo 6-2. Chicago surprisingly beat Detroit 4-1, and Chicago beat their 3-game losing streak. Colorado won in overtime, a very exciting game, 6-5 against Ottawa. Tonight's games, the Rangers versus the Philadelphia, Washington at Buffalo, Phoenix at the New York Islanders, Anaheim at Carolina, New Jersey at Atlanta, Dallas at Columbus, Toronto at Vancouver, Buffalo at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, a surprising team so far this season. As we already said, San Jose at St. Louis, LA at Nashville, Minnesota at Calgary. And tomorrow night's games, just for those of you who are curious, Dallas at Detroit, Los Angeles at Chicago, Washington at Ottawa, and Montreal at Colorado. I know we haven't done a whole lot in hockey, so I figured throw in at least this. And you guys who are hockey fans, it's something for you to get excited about since Corey couldn't be here this week. But he will once again have the written thing up, and next week he will be here. He will have his topic. He'll be talking about Alexander Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby's rivalry and how they are playing each other in the Winter Classic this year. Obviously, it's going to be a classic. 2 of the biggest names in hockey going at it. MMA time. Kyle, what do you got for me?
I have a quick recap of UFC 124. I'm going to run down the match list here, or a few of the matches anyway. John Makdesky defeated Paul Aldenwood via unanimous decision. Thiago Alves defeated John Howard via unanimous decision. Mark Danzig defeated Joe Stevenson via knockout in the first round. Stefan Struve defeated Sean McCorkle via a round 1 KO. And in the main event, George St. Pierre retained his welterweight championship, defeating Josh Koscheck via a 5-round unanimous decision. As far as UFC 125 goes, it's only a couple of weeks away, and fights are still being announced, but we do know that the headliner for that show will be Frankie Edgar taking on the undefeated Gray Menard in a fight that promises to be a classic. I'm hoping that I can get my hands on a full card by next week, so I can give all you UFC fans a complete UFC 125 card by next Saturday.
Switching it over to MLB, or we'll just go ahead and throw the Cardinals in here while we're at it. The Cardinals, they traded Brendan Ryan, surprisingly, to the Seattle Mariners for, and I'm sorry if I pronounce this guy's name wrong, Michaela Cleto, I think it is.
Something like that.
A one-man trade, so who knows? He's supposed to be just as good as Ryan. We'll see what we get out of him. But the Cardinals also signed Gerald Liard. Other baseball signings, the Cubs re-signed defending NL Rookie of the Year, Kerry Wood. Cliff Lee picked to go with his first World Series team, the Philadelphia Phillies, over the high-paying New York Yankees. And speaking of teams that I hate, Boston Red Sox signed Carl Crawford. That was like a stab to the heart. In basketball news, the Orlando Magic have acquired troubled guard Arenas Williams from the Washington Wizards as they traded Rasheed Lewis for Gilbert Arenas. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, Arenas can be a top-notch player, but he hasn't been in like 2 or 3 years. They also traded for Hedo Turkoglu and Jason Richardson. Turkoglu, as you know, was with the Magic a year back, signed with, I thought, Toronto. I guess somehow he wound up in Phoenix, but now he's heading back to the Magic. But they traded away Vince Carter and Michael Pettis, as well as Markin Gotra. And I'm sorry if I pronounce those names wrong. I am not a very good with names, I guess you can say. A couple other stories we have for you today is members of the Associated Press have voted Tiger Woods' humbling return to the public eye has been voted the story of the year. Tiger Woods' story about cheating on his wife edged the New Orleans Saints' first Super Bowl championship. The Woods saga received 1,316 points in voting by the U.S. news organization that makes up the AP membership, with the Saints title getting 1,215. The NBA free agent frenzy that saw LeBron James be a jerk and jump to Miami came in third with 1,085 votes. In the Female Athlete of the Year award, that went to Lindsey Vonn. She is the first female athlete, any athlete, to be chosen from skiing. No athlete ever has been chosen from skiing to win Athlete of the Year before. That's impressive for her, and that's, I guess you could say, another leap and bound for women's sports. Congratulations to her. And the Male Athlete of the Year went to New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees, who beat out NASCAR's Jimmy Johnson, who won it last year, as well as boxer Manny Pacquiao. Kyle, you got any NHL stories for us?
In NHL, the Glendale City Council has approved a new lease for the Phoenix Coyotes, clearing the way for sale of the team by the NHL to Chicago businessman Matt Holzbier. The council voted 5-2 late Tuesday night in favor of the lease, which will cost the city $197 million over a 6-year period. Holzbier is expected to pay about $170 million for the team. And NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman attended the meeting and assured the council that his league's board of governors would approve Holzbier as an owner. However, the competitive Goldwater Institute warned the council that the terms of the lease may violate Arizona's anti-subsidy law. And Atlanta Thrashers staged a fake police chase with its mascot on Wednesday in an attempt to pique interest in the surging team, which has won 10 of the 12 games, but still ranks 28th in the NHL in fan support. Thrash was picked up by officers in suburban Gwinnett County after he supposedly stole the Zamboni from the team's training complex and took off down a busy highway. It was all just a publicity stunt, however, and the team says Thrash will be released from custody as soon as 5,000 additional tickets are sold for the remaining 5 home games in December. That's a funny story right there.
It is. Jumping over to NASCAR real quick, 5-time defending NASCAR champion Jimmy Johnson has been named Driver of the Year, so I guess that makes up for him not getting Athlete of the Year.
Yeah, I would say.
Daytona International Speedway was repaved and everything, revamped all the way around. Now that race will be a lot more exciting for them. Jumping back up to NFL, I forgot to hit on these. The Minnesota Vikings play at the University of Minneapolis TFC Bank Stadium. They are having some problems getting the stadium up and ready. They're afraid that pipes might freeze because it's not meant to be played in this time of year. They've just got all the snow off the field. They've been doing that since the Vikings' actual stadium fell apart and had snow fall through the stadium. But it seems like that the Vikings and the Bears will be playing there. However, I guess a nice gesture. I don't know whether he's being a smartass or not, but Colts owner Robert Esray says on Twitter he'd be happy to host the game in Indianapolis if needed. So seems like a nice gesture, but the New York Jets have suspended their assistant coach Sal Osoli as he tripped a Miami Dolphins player, and it was found out that he did it on purpose. He had injured players line up against the sideline so he could have the opportunity to trip the Miami player. It is said that no other New York Jets coach was involved in this. They had no clue about it. So that is the investigation. He's been suspended. I do believe that's over. Could change things. Next week on the show, I think what I'm going to do, instead of, doing a separate show for just the playoffs, I think next week we will focus on the matchups next week that could affect the playoffs this year. So we'll take a look at that. I might have another subject as well. We'll also take a look at the Rams game, and we'll find out what we'll talk about with the Rams. Could be Sam Bradford, Steven Jackson. We don't know quite yet. Kyle, you have any idea what you're going to be talking about next week?
Actually, I thought of this last night. My 2 topics next week, I'm going to talk about the fallout from from tonight's TLC pay-per-view. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to think this out. I'm going to come up with my own year-end awards for WWE. I'm going to sit down and hand out my own awards for the year in professional wrestling. As always, you can visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/sportsjunkies with a Z. You can email us at sportsjunkies@hotmail.com. Join our Facebook group. All you got to do is go to the search page, type in Sports Junkies, and we're the one with the medical pad logo. You can hit us up on Twitter at twitter.com/sportsjunkies with a Z. Or you can visit the brand new website, which I am proud to announce will go live with our first show of the new year, xrl.us/metal, JAKET. That's all you got to put in, and that'll take you directly to our to the old homepage. And there's a sidebar for Sports Junkies. Just check that out. Leave any comments or any questions you have right there. I think that'll about do it for us, don't you think, Josh?
Everything sounds good to me. Go ahead,
Till
Kyle.
next week, my friends, for myself and my friend Joshua Turley, if you've got a request, we have your fix here on Sports Junkies.
Sports Junkies!
Night, everybody.